Before you watch this video, you should download this completely free. It's going to be very helpful as we go through this particular lesson and lessons to come. The link is below. Enter a valid email address, download this, and come back to the lesson. I'll be right here waiting for you. Let's do this. Today we are going to continue exploring our fretboard using arpeggios, broken chords, to create something that is really fitting to the chord progression that you're playing over or that you are suggesting. You don't even need a backing track for this kind of stuff. It's going to solidify your knowledge of the fretboard. It has to do with visualization, with the response that you're getting from what you're hearing, how it triggers your fingers to replicate what you're hearing inside. It strengthens that connection. It's a really interactive lesson. Make sure you download the PDF. It's free. The link is below. Grab your guitar. We're going to get started right after this. Hi, my name is David Wallerman. Welcome to this channel, which is all about helping guitar players around the world find their unique voice, develop that voice on the instrument to tell their own musical personality. And today we're diving deep into arpeggios and visualization. We're going to try to concentrate on a narrow area of the fretboard, not because I'm against 3-note per strings at all. I love those. They're very useful, but the disadvantage of using 3 notes per string is that your fingers tend to rely on the patterns that are very comfortable. And whenever that happens, well, we tend to create music by just trusting our fingers and forgetting about the inner voice that should direct what these muscles are doing. So we're going to concentrate on a narrow area of the fretboard. We're going to visualize what's going on and try to target certain notes to suggest chords that are not really heard. To work on today's lesson, we're going to virtually, mentally consider the following chord progression. A major 7, followed by B minor 7, and then we'll have an E 7, E dominant 7. We'll start with that. And we're going to concentrate in this zone of the fretboard right here between frets 5 and 7. All right, so we need to fit our 3 chords within that slice of the fretboard. And we're going to tie to these chords, attach to these chords, the arpeggios that you should have downloaded by now. If we do this, we'll have a chord progression that is 1, 2, 5. That's a chord progression in a major scale. A major is going to be our key here. And the 1 is basically the chord that is based on the first degree. If we're in A, that's A. And the first degree is a major 7 chord. How do I know that? Well, because I watched the previous lesson, which I'll link below. It's somewhere. If this is completely new to you, trust me and then watch that lesson after. But we've got a 1 here, and in that slice of the fretboard, the 1, which is A, is going to be on the 6th string, 5th fret. That's our A. So we need to find a chord or an arpeggio, a 4-note arpeggio, that is staying in that zone of the fretboard. So in order to stay in that zone of the fretboard, when you are looking at your instrument, from your perspective, we need an arpeggio that has its root on the 6th string. That's the 5th fret right here. And then it happens on, from my perspective, the right side to stay in that zone. If it went on the left side, it would be outside of that zone that we decided to work in. So we're going to use that arpeggio shape. So we go through our sheets here, and this is how it works. Basically on the top, you will have zones of the fretboard that are drawn out. If we have a root on the low E string, we want the zone to be on the right side. So it's not going to be that sheet. It's going to be this sheet right here. See how the root is on the low E string? The zone is on the right side. That's the sheet you want. We're dealing with a major 7 arpeggio, so look for your major 7 arpeggio, that one. That is the shape that we're going to use here. So we have our arpeggio shape. This is what it sounds like. That's for an A major 7 chord. So whenever I'm going to suggest that chord, I'm going to play with those arpeggio notes. As you're doing this, as you're playing through this, and I'll walk you through it, I want you to be aware of which interval you are playing. So in this case, it's a 4-note arpeggio, 1, 3, 5, 7. Or if I want to be more specific, root, major 3rd, perfect 5th, major 7th. And it continues, root, major 3rd, perfect 5th, major 7th, root. Now I have another 3rd, but that's outside of my zone of the fretboard. Remember, we're sticking to that area of the fretboard. Maybe more difficult for the fingers, but a lot more beneficial for the connection brain fingers. All right, so that's for the first chord, the 1, the major 7, A major 7. The second chord of our imaginary chord progression is B minor 7. So we need to find a B in this area of the fretboard. We have one on the 6th string, 7th fret this time. And if I want to stay in that zone of the fretboard, I need a position, an arpeggio position that happens on the left side of that root from my perspectives to stay in that zone. If it was on the right side, that's outside of our zone here, right? Keeping everything contained there. It has its use. I'll tell you about it in a little bit, but we're going to go through our sheets. We're going to look at arpeggio shapes that have their root on the low E string that happens on the left side. So we can go through this. Hopefully you're doing that too. And we're first looking at the shape that is on top of your sheet. Here it is, minor 7 arpeggio. Bam, I have it here, and it'll be this one right here. We've got a B on the low E string, 7th fret. We have a minor 7th, 2 frets below. That's part of the arpeggio. We don't have to start the arpeggio from the root all the time. Music would be really boring if you only did that. So that's part of the arpeggio. Minor 3rd, 5th, minor 7th, root, minor 3rd, 5th, minor 7th, and root. That's the shape we're going to use. All right? I'm going to walk you through that if you need the numbers. If you did not download the sheet, which, why didn't you? It's below. But here it is. We're going to start with a root. Okay, low E string, 7th fret. Playing that with my pinky. Fingering doesn't really matter. It's the note. The outcome will be the same, regardless of the finger. But it's just a comfort thing. So we've got our root, low E string, 7th fret. Minor 3rd is on the 5th string, 5th fret. On the next string, we have our 5th on the 4th string, 4th fret. Going to the minor 7th on the 4th string, 7th fret. After that, we have our root on the 3rd string, 4th fret. Minor 3rd, 3rd string, 7th fret. Perfect 5th is on the 2nd string, 7th fret. Minor 7th, 1st string, 5th fret. And the root is on the 1st string, 7th fret. Okay, so that's for our second chord. So we got the major 7, A major 7, B minor 7. And then we said that we're going to go to the 5. And the 5, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, that's on the 5th string, 7th fret. That's the dominant 7 chord because of the harmonization of the major scale, which is in that lesson that I mentioned previously. I'll link it below. Basically, major 7, minor 7, minor 7, major 7, dominant 7, minor 7, flat 5, half diminished. And here's that shape. So we need this time a shape that has its root on the 5th string and happens on the left side to stay contained here. Go through your diagrams. I'll play it for you. It's this one. Here's the fingering. Here are the frets. I'm going to start with the root on the 5th string, 7th fret. The next string, 4th string, we have the 6th fret. 3rd string, we have the 4th fret. That's our 5th. And then the minor 7th is on the 3rd string, 7th fret. Moving on to the root on the 2nd string, 5th fret. Major 3rd, 1st string, 4th fret. Perfect 5th, 1st string, 7th fret. Okay? We've got our 3 chords. What are we going to do with those? Well, we're going to visualize them and we're going to try to create music suggesting those chords, only playing the notes of the arpeggios. For this, we're going to be completely free form rhythmically. So no rhythm involved besides the one that is in your head. We're not playing over a backing track or anything. That's going to help you have the time to make those chord changes. So we're going to start with the 1, that arpeggio here. And the idea is not to play the arpeggio in a scalar form. I don't want to hear 1, 3, 5, 7, 1, 3, 5, 7, 1 consistently. I want you to skip notes. I want to stay in notes a little bit longer. But you need to be aware. You need to play at a speed where you're aware of which notes you're playing. So instead of doing a phrase like starting with the 1, I don't need to start with the 1 to know that I'm in that arpeggio shape. If I play enough notes, the listener is going to understand what's going on. So maybe we'll start with this note, which is the major 7th. You need to be aware of that. That's on the 4th string, 6th fret, within that arpeggio shape. Maybe I'll do something like major 7, root, major 3rd. That's a phrase, right? This phrase. And that's enough to know that you're in major 7. I'm going to repeat that. Maybe I'll play that root. Maybe I'll play 1, 7, 1, 7, 1, 5, 3. It's a pretty phrase, right? And it's very different than, but you still have the context. So explore different things like that. Believe in every note you're playing. Maybe it's not exciting as in, technique-wise, but it's exciting melodically, and that's what we're after here. You can add all the exciting technical things after. So I'm basically coloring here. It gets a little boring after a while. That's where we switch to the next chord. It calls for it, right? You're expecting something else harmonically. So we're going to use our 2nd arpeggio shape. Same idea here. And then the 3rd chord shape, which was dominant 7. And then back to 1. So we'll do that several times. See if you can hear the chord change. So remember 1, 2, and 5. So I'll start with a 1. You heard it there, right? That's the 2. And the 5. And the 1. Do another turn. You heard the chords without me having to play the chords. That's the approach. We use the 1, 2, 5. You can make any combination of numbers. I'd suggest maybe not going over 3 different chords in your progression just to really master this. Because if I'm in the 1 here, for example, and I land on that major 7, then I'm going to consider that, all right, I am going to switch here to maybe the 5. Well, that note, which was the major 7 of this, now if I'm switching my mind to the 5 chord, that note is no longer perceived as a major 7, but it's the 3rd of the 5th degree. And that's why we're limiting that to 2 or 3 chords, because there is that shift of focus. A note becomes something else depending on what you're considering, and we need to take it slow. We need to master this so that eventually when you have rich chord progressions or even chord progressions that modulate, change keys, you'll be able to make that switch mentally because you're trained to that. So start with simple things. We did 1, 2, 5. We could do a 1, 4, 5 within the major scale. That's the blues chord progression. Now there's something in the blues that happens where we dominant 7 every chord. We make every chord different type of chord. We make them dominant 7, but we're not going to do that. The traditional way would be 1, 4, 5, which is 1 major 7. And then the 4 is also major 7. And then the 5 is dominant 7. So you heard that. That kind of chord progression. All right, so I realized that the lesson today was maybe a little dry, a lot of numbers, a lot of intervals and all that. Keep in mind that this is just one aspect of your practice. When you're actually playing, you don't have to spell out all these things. You don't have to think in terms of 1, 7, 1, 3, 5, 1, 3, 7. No, we're just doing that to consolidate our understanding of the fretboard. Eventually, you just create music. You can go back to spelling out things. It's very useful, but it's just like when I'm talking to you. I'm not mentally thinking about every single word and how to spell these words. I'm just talking to you, sharing ideas. And I know how to share an idea because I've done it before. And what I mean by that is that the words that I'm using are not made up on the spot. I did this work when I was learning English. But you don't have to. I can always go back to that. I can spell out a word if I need to. Can always go back to spelling the word, W-O-R-D, but that's not how you speak. And musically, this is just one aspect of playing. All that to say, don't think too mathematical when you're playing. Do some of that brain-engaged mathematical work. It's going to consolidate your understanding of all that, but that's not the main, that's not how you speak musically. I hope that made sense. Thank you so much for watching this. Remember to download this free worksheet. The link is below. All I need from you is an email so that I can send you this, and you'll be added to the free Guitar Playback newsletter club, in which I send some free content just like this video, just like the YouTube thing, and sometimes I also send some free backing tracks and I'll tell you about some courses, and you can subscribe anytime. For now, download this. We're going to be using it and following videos pretty soon. Thank you for watching this. If this is your first visit, consider subscribing. Every week a new video like this one, Monday, Wednesday, and Friday, helping guitar players like all of us develop our voice, our unique voice on the instrument to tell our own personal musical story. Thanks for watching this. I'll see you next time.